have any response to the news today that a federal judge has ordered the immediate release of Rumeysa Ozturk from detention, and particularly his comments that the government submitted no evidence other than an op-ed that Ozturk wrote last year?
I will have to check in with the Department of Homeland Security on that particular case, but I think our overall feeling, we've made quite clear that lower-level judges should not be dictating the foreign policy of the United States, and we absolutely believe that the President and the Department of Homeland Security are well within their legal rights to deport illegal immigrants. As for visa revocations, the Secretary of State has the right to do that as well. It is a privilege, not a right, to come to this country on a visa. But I'll check in on the specific case. My office will get you details. Sure.
Caroline, yesterday the administration appears to have started dismantling the Consumer Product Safety Commission. This is the federal agency, an independent one that does recalls and is responsible for product safety. Does the administration not believe that it's important, to keep toys and cribs? I mean, you're a young mom, off of the product of the market.
It's a federal agency within which branch? It's the executive branch. Who's the head of the executive branch? The President of the United States.
Created by Congress.
He has the right to fire people within the executive branch. It's a pretty simple answer. Francesca.
Thanks. One foreign policy one and then a domestic policy thing, if I could. As far as the president's trip goes next week, is he planning to meet with the FIFA president in either Saudi Arabia or Qatar? And if so, could you give us some more details about that?
The president has quite a few meetings with many people when he is there. We can certainly check at the itinerary and let you know if the FIFA president will be there next week. Frankly, I'm not quite sure, but we can certainly get you an answer. As you know, the president attended a FIFA task force meeting at the White House this week.
And on the domestic front, could you explain why the FEMA administrator was removed from his position this week?
Look, this is a personnel matter in regards to the Department of Homeland Security, but my understanding is that this individual testified saying something that was contrary to what the president believes and the goals of this administration in regards to FEMA policy. And so, of course, we want to make sure that people in every position are advancing the administration's goals. But as for specifics, I defer you to the Department of Homeland Security. We leave it up to our great cabinet secretaries when it comes to personnel matters. Sure, in the back.
Thank you. Aid hasn't gone into Gaza in 10 weeks. Israel says that this is a policy to pressure Hamas in the negotiations, in the ceasefire negotiations. Is this a policy that this administration supports?
The president answered this week. He said that he wants to ensure that aid can get into Gaza, but we have to do it in a responsible way to ensure it doesn't end up in the hands of terrorists. So this is something the administration is actively working on, and when we have a policy to announce on this definitively, we can certainly let you know.
Can you talk about this effort for the U.S. to take over the distribution of aid in Gaza, to exclude Israel, but also international organizations said this effort militarizes aid?
I would reject that characterization by whatever groups you are citing. Kelly.
Caroline, thank you. I want to get back to the First Lady Melania Trump dealing with foster children. That's an important component in American life to see what happens to the future of our children, particularly in foster care. Can you explain the significance of this development between the First Lady and the housing and urban development?
Yes, absolutely. It's millions of dollars that will go into a program that helps these children transition out of foster care to have productive and positive lives. And I'd like to share a personal story since you asked if I may. I hope the First Lady won't mind. I was at an event in Florida last year, and I was approached by a gentleman who was a foster dad, and he had taken in I think it was 6 or 7 foster children. And he spoke to me. He had recognized me in my work for President Trump's campaign at the time. And the little boy who was with him talked about the personal relationship that he had with First Lady Melania Trump. And the conversation she had with him and how she really encouraged him to be the best that he could be during her first term here at the White House, and how even after she and President Trump left the White House, she kept in very close touch with this young foster child. It was a touching moment that I will never forget, and it speaks to the heart of this First Lady and the great work that she is doing for foster children. And this is certainly a very big announcement that I know our Secretary of Housing and Urban Development is in particular very excited about, and we can certainly get you all the details on that program. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. I want to ask you about the trade deal that the President announced yesterday with the UK as it relates to the auto sector.
Sure.
The trade group that represents the big three here in the U.S. believes that it may put the big three automakers at a competitive disadvantage. What the trade group says is that it will now be cheaper to import a UK vehicle with very little American content than a USMCA compliant vehicle imported from Mexico or Canada with just 50% American content. What's your response to that criticism coming from this trade group?
Well, first of all, let's be clear about what the deal does. It sets a 10% rate on auto imports for the first 100 cars that are imported into the United States. 100,000 cars, thank you. That would be very few cars. 100,000 cars imported from the United Kingdom. After 100,000 vehicles, it goes back up to a 25% tariff. And as for our U.S. auto manufacturers, our auto industry, the president wants to put them on the best pedestal to compete. And by the way, if they produce vehicles right here in the United States of America, they will face no tariff at all. I would argue of any industry, the president has spent more time talking to and listening to the concerns of our auto industry here at home. He hears them, he believes in them, he wants to see them produce their vehicles here in the United States of America. This is a good deal for them too.
Is this a model for European and Asian vehicles as well, what we see coming out of the UK trade deal with the US?
Look, all of these deals are going to be tailor-made. The president has said that from the beginning. It's very apropos that the first trade deal was announced between the United States and the United Kingdom, one of our oldest and greatest allies, but each country has unique concerns and challenges. In terms of American industry, we need to open up markets in every single country, and obviously the needs are unique, so our trade team is looking at each country and the advantages that we can pursue for American industries and American workers. Sure.
Happy early Mother's Day.
Oh, thank you. The president said yesterday that he would be speaking with Zelensky shortly. Did that call happen yesterday, or do we expect that to happen in the near term?
The call happened yesterday. President Zelensky called the president to tell him that the critical minerals deal had passed the parliament in Ukraine. I talked to the president about that call. He said it was very good and productive, and of course the critical minerals deal is great for Ukraine, but also of course for the United States of America and our taxpayers here. It was a good call, and they also spoke about, of course, this ceasefire that the president proposed, the 30-day ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, which we know Europe is on board with, and we hope both countries will agree to.
Just on next week, do we expect President Putin, is there any chance that he could meet with Trump while he's in the region?
The president answered this yesterday. Not going to happen.
Question on ceasefire. Has he got any reaction from Zelensky or Putin on the proposal for ceasefire? Is he satisfied by the reaction to that proposal?
Not to my knowledge, but certainly if there is a reaction and updates, I'm sure you'll hear directly from the president.
Question, the president fired the Librarian of Congress. Why did he choose to do that?
We felt she did not fit the needs of the American people. There were quite concerning things that she had done at the Library of Congress in the pursuit of DEI and putting inappropriate books in the library for children, and we don't believe that she was serving the interests of the American taxpayer well, so she has been removed from her position, and the president is well within his rights to do that. John.
Thank you, Caroline. Happy Mother's Day as well.
Thank you.
President Trump ran on delivering the biggest tax cut in history, got over 70 million votes. Right now, you got a handful of obstructionists in the Republican conference that are saying they're not going to go along with his tax cut package. You just said those that don't will be held accountable. What is your description of being held accountable?
Well, look, I think they'll be held accountable by the voters in their respective districts if they choose to vote for a tax hike to the tune of $4 trillion, which would raise taxes to thousands of dollars per household in this country. The president has great political instincts. That's why he's back in the Oval Office, and Capitol Hill should follow his lead. As for the president, speaking of him, he will be signing executive orders later this afternoon. We are happy to provide more information on those executive orders if you wish. Thank you for the Mother's Day wishes, and happy Mother's Day to all of the moms in the room. And don't forget to call your mom this Sunday. We'll see you guys later. Have a good weekend.